Hi there everyone, Lars here, with another Nagatoro review and analysis brought to you by Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends, and this particular video feels very appropriate since we are now in the month of Valentine's. And in this video, I want to look at the most recent episode, which was a fairly simple one. Senpai gets sick, Nagatoro comes on over to his house and takes care of him. However, there is something I think very noteworthy about this particular episode in how it uses probably one of the most tired, boring, overused tropes besides the accidental boob grab. The trope that I'm talking about in this particular episode, in fact what takes up the entire episode, even more so than the last episode, is the sickbed trope, or at least that's what I call it, in which a character gets sick and another character shows their affection by showing up at this person's house or apartment and then takes care of them. And you know what? Who wouldn't want to have that? Where someone shows on up to take care of you, you don't feel good, you don't feel like you can take care of yourself because you're puking out your guts, you are burning up with a fever, your body is so achy, who knows what's happening to you, and then here comes someone willing to risk their own health, well-being, and use up their time to take care of you. Wow, doesn't that just sound romantic? The only thing is that actually when you think about it, you're like, ugh, if I'm puking out my guts, or if I'm not feeling well, if I'm looking and feeling at my absolute worst, do I really want the person that I like to see me like this, especially if we're not yet in a relationship? It's one of the reasons why this particular trope to me has always been kind of weird, and it just happens so often in anime and manga that I'm like, what? Does this really work for people? I guess it does in a society where things are way more close to the chest, where you're way more reserved. Oh, someone is willing to break out of the norm of their schedule and come and take care of me. That's love! In any case, with this particular episode, Senpai gets sick because, well, he went and he hung around Nagatoro right before she was cleared and ready to go back to school. There's a reason why she waited an extra day to go back, because it takes a little while to get over your cold. Well, he caught that cold by bringing over some pudding, hanging out with her, returning her homework, and also playing video games. All of that exposure, boom, he's now sick, and he's down and out for the day. So Nagatoro comes after school to take care of him, which is a good thing because the fever has hit kind of its high pitch and he is just going absolutely delirious. Well, while she's taking care of him, he hallucinates a little bit and is like, is she my wife? Is this the future? And Nagatoro is just absolutely lapping this up, having fun teasing Senpai as she normally does, but then also getting him in a somewhat vulnerable position where he uses her first name and it just clicks and she's like, oh, I like that. Can you say that again? He passes out and she's like, I wake you up with a kiss. We're gonna go full on Sleeping Beauty right here and wake you up because I want to hear you call me by my first name again. However, that doesn't happen because, well, Senpai's mom returns home. Nagatoro realizes, oop, I am not allowed to show this much emotion. This is really weird here at this house. Maybe the sickbed trope is a little bit too much, and flees the situation. And Senpai does not do the right thing and goes to school the very next day after being like, I feel better now. How many kids are going to get sick at this school? I want to know. As a former teacher, I can tell you this. Just have one sick kid show up, and within a week, half of your students are not going to be there. So yeah, this episode is a fairly straightforward, very simple one. There's not necessarily a whole lot happening, and I'm impressed actually that they were able to take 2 chapters of the manga and really stretch them on out to make a very entertaining episode with honestly very little content, with very little stuff happening in them, and yet this is, I would argue, a very potent moment in both the manga and in the anime. And I think it's because this is what I would like to call a solid mile mark. When you're writing romance stories, what you want to do is you want to have mile markers. You want to have very clear, distinct steps that take the characters towards their relationship. And then when they're in a relationship, distinct mile markers that show that their relationship is continuing to grow. This is a problem that many novice authors have. They either go too hard or they don't go not hard enough at all. A good example is this, and it's like, oh, a character gave another her pencil. It shows that she's got feelings. unless you're writing for middle school characters, that doesn't work because it's just a decent thing to do. Oh, you don't have a pen or a pencil? Here, you can have one of mine. There's nothing romantic about that. Or sometimes you got characters like, it's so hard, it's like, we passed by in the hallway. We knew instantly, and so we met in the locker room or later on, and we went into a locker and ... Oh boy, you're just like, no, where's the connection? What is the connection? Who even are these characters? Why would they even go to a locker room? Actually, scratch that. If you're writing characters in middle school or in high school, I can absolutely see that. Again, as a former teacher, I've got stories that YouTube would not like me to share. But yeah, it's a really big problem. Where is that good, happy middle ground where it makes sense that this is a moment that naturally draws out good character interaction and establishes that the characters are getting to know each other better, they're doing stuff together that is meaningful, and as a result, you can see romance blossoming. It is actually way more difficult than you might think. There are people who say, well, no, it's actually really simple. Believe you me, it isn't. I have read too many works from other authors where they're like, isn't this just such a romantic moment? And I'm like, no, because someone's getting disemboweled in the middle of battle and these two characters shared a look and a wink. That's not necessarily romantic. That's being more cheeky. Oh, one person's hand brushed up against another. Are we back in middle school? This character said something nice to another. Well, isn't that nice of them? But that isn't necessarily romantic. So it makes sense then why people would use these overused tire tropes like the sickbed trope to try to establish some sort of romance. Please don't tease me, Miss Nagatoro Season 2 is doing nothing novel with this episode. They've already done a sickbed episode in the previous one where Senpai goes and meets Nagatoro, and that one was way more fun and engaging. However, this one is arguably the stronger of the two mile markers, even though the last one I was giving it praise about how Senpai learns Hayase's name and how when they're playing video games it actually shows how much growth that they've had. It is a pretty good and important moment, but this one is actually, I would argue, the more powerful one for not the dream sequence, not the waifu dream sequence. In fact, because we're going to get way more powerful, way more potent dream sequences from Senpai later on, believe you me, though we're far ways off from that. No, it's because we get clearly defined moments where we see just how much Nagatoro likes Senpai. And of course, we've already seen all of this, but here we have Nagatoro putting that emotion into practice by actually taking care of Senpai when he really needs it, by not teasing him in a very vulnerable moment. And yes, when later on when she does, actually devolving from teasing Nagatoro to very sweet and eager Nagatoro. And the big thing for Nagatoro is being able to hear her first name used by Senpai in a way that just is natural. There's nothing forced about it. There's nothing in the situation that demands that he use her first name. He just says it in full absolute gratitude. And it clicks. It clicks like, this is the guy that I have feelings for. He came to me and gave me my homework, gave me pudding, and spent time with me when he didn't have to. I was sick, but he came anyway. Here I am helping him out, and he is showing genuine gratitude. This is unlike any of our other interactions thus far, and it's just a beautiful moment where everything comes together for Nagatoro. If there was any doubt before that she liked him, that doubt should be gone now with her desire to kiss him. However, we understand that there's a long way still yet to go because Senpai himself was very sick and hallucinating. And ultimately, in my opinion, what I think makes this episode work is that even though this trope has been overused, in fact, this is the second time this season that we're getting it, it works because it's not overdone and it's not too little. It's just the right amount of interaction between these two characters, resulting in a romantic moment. Even if I'm not a huge fan of the sickbed trope, it still works. And that's again what you want in a good romance. You want a balance of passion and interaction and stuff that makes sense, interactions that make sense. That's again the problem. Just too many romance stories want us to get to the mattress tango as fast as possible that events are just forced, or they want to drag it out as long as they can and preserve all of that sweet, awkward tension. And as a result, the romance just isn't there, and it just feels very forced. And then if anything romantic does happen, it either just happens out of the blue, or it feels forced to have happened in the first place because it just took way too long to get there. Again, why it's so hard to write a good romance. You need solid mile markers throughout the story at regular intervals, pretty much, that draw out good character interaction that result in romantic moments. And as a quick aside, even though this isn't anything to do necessarily with Please Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro, it's one of the reasons why I really enjoy the ship Cruzy from Deltarune. In Chapter 2 of Deltarune, you have Noelle coming on just way too strong on Suzy, and there's a lot of people who just lap that up. Oh, so wonderful. Give me more of that beautiful tea, Toby. Please, please. Well, the problem is that where did it all stem from? It is stemmed from a pencil. Oh my, I gave a pencil. Oh, she likes me. I took this pencil because I needed a pencil. She likes me. Let me just dump all of these emotions and feelings onto you, and people are just going to eat it up. It came out of nowhere. Yes, we knew that Noelle had a crush on Suzy, but it just came out of nowhere, and in one forced moment, boom, romance. It comes out of nowhere, it doesn't feel earned, whereas with Chris and Suzy, we have a very clear defined history of a bully and a bullied kid learning to become friends and developing feelings for each other throughout numerous interactions. In many ways, it's exactly the same like Nagatoro and Senpai, from a bullied relationship all the way up to what we have now with a developing romance as the two of them are becoming closer friends. That is what we want to see. That is good, healthy romance, and that is why I love this show. So those are my thoughts. That's my writer's take on this particular episode and what it really has to show. It might not be the greatest thing ever. It's definitely not my favorite episode within the entire series by far, but I recognize it as a very good use of the sickbed trope and as an important mile marker towards Senpai and Nagatoro eventually becoming a couple. So that is my take on this. If you're looking for more writing advice, please check out our other videos here on our YouTube channel. You can also head on over to our podcast, Camille's Harem, found on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, the works. We have writing exercises for you to check out over at our Pinterest page. And of course, we would love for you to join our ever-growing community of novice authors. Links for all of that and more are in the description below. And until the next video, y'all, happy Valentine's month and tschüss.